Hi everyone, today I'm going to explain how to find a 5-number summary by hand and how to identify outliers. The 5-number summary is one of the most common ways to describe data in statistics. It gives us a quick picture of where the data is centered, how spread out it is, and whether there are any unusual values that stand out from the rest of the data. The minimum is simply the smallest value in the data set. The maximum is the largest. The median is also called the second quartile or Q2, is the middle value when the data are arranged from smallest to largest. The median divides the data into two equal halves. Q1 is this middle value of the lower half. About 25% of observations are below Q1. The third quartile, Q3, is the middle value, or the upper half of the data. 75% of the observations are below Q3. The very first step is to make sure the numbers are arranged from smallest to largest. In this example, they're already in order. Since there are 9 numbers, finding the median is easy because there's only one number exactly in the middle. The fifth value is 9, so the median is 9. Next, I split the data into two halves. I do not include the median when the number of the observations is odd. My lower half becomes 3, 5, 7, and 8. Since there are 4 numbers, there isn't a middle value. Instead, I average the two middle values. 5 plus 7 equals 12. 12 divided by 2 equals 6. Therefore, Q1 equals 6. Now looking at the upper half, 10, 12, 15, and 18. So again, I average the two middle values. 12 plus 15 equals 27. 27 divided by 2 equals 13.5. So Q3 equals 13.5. Finally, the minimum is 3 and the maximum is 18. Here is an example of it laid out on a box plot. If I were to draw this, the box would stretch from Q1 to Q3, and the line inside the box would represent the median. This means the middle 50% of the data falls between 6 and 13.5. That is why the box is sometimes called the middle 50% of the data. Now let's work through another example where one value is much larger than the others. Once again, the numbers are already arranged from smallest to largest. There are 9 observations, so the median is the fifth value, which is 7. The lower half is 2, 4, 5, and 6. Q1 equals 4.5. The upper half is 8, 9, 10, and 30. Q3 equals 9.5. The minimum is 2, the maximum is 30. At first glance, 30 already looks unusual because it's much farther away from the rest of the numbers. But instead of guessing, statistics gives us a rule for deciding whether a value is officially considered an outlier. To check for outliers, we calculate the IQR, or interquartile range. The formula is IQR equals Q3 minus Q1. In this example, that's 9.5 minus 4.5 equals 5. Next, we multiply the IQR by 1.5. 1.5 times 5 equals 7.5. Now we calculate the two boundaries called fences. Lower fence equals Q1 minus 1.5 times the IQR. 4.5 minus 7.5 equals negative 3. The upper fence equals Q3 plus 1.5 times the IQR. 9.5 plus 7.5 equals 17. Any value below negative 3 or above 17 is considered an outlier. So 30 is greater than 17, which makes it an outlier. Here is another visual of how to see where this outlier fits on the plot. Why does this matter? 5-number summaries are used in many different fields. Healthcare, doctors use them to summarize patient measurements like blood pressure, cholesterol, or recovery times. Businesses use them to monitor product quality or detect manufacturing problems. Teachers use them to analyze test scores and determine the student's performance. Researchers use them whenever they need to summarize large data sets before performing additional statistical analysis. Because the 5-number summary provides so much information, only using 5 values, it's one of the most useful descriptive statistics. Let's review. First, arrange the data from smallest to largest. Next, find the median. Then find Q1 and Q3 by looking at the lower and upper halves of the data. Record the minimum and max. Finally, calculate the IQR and use 1.5 times IQR rule to determine whether there are any outliers.